This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse. I haven't interviewed somebody in a while that's from St. Louis. I am also from St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
I know, a little Midwest. When did you know that acting was the thing, and what did you do first in St. Louis to kind of start laying that foundation?
I knew it when I was very young. I've said in a few interviews that my grandmother used to take me to movies, but she also took me to the opera or to Muni. You're from St. Louis, so you know the Muni. Yeah, she took me to Muni. And I would just be in awe. I saw Sidney Poitier with her in The Defiant Ones. I think I might have been 6 or 7 years old. And her reaction to it I was blown away by her reaction, but I'd never seen anything like that. My mother would take me to horror movies. We want to go and see Rodan or King Kong or something. And I loved Frankenstein and Dracula, those type of things. And then we'd see all the cowboy flicks on TV, and my brothers and I would get out and we'd play. One brother would be the bad guy and I'd be the sheriff or whatever, or vice versa. And that is kind of, when I look back on how it got started. How it really got started for me, my first job, I think, was in kindergarten. We did this thing called I'm a Little Teapot. and I was talking to my cousins about it because they remembered my aunt was a teacher at the school at the time, but my mother came and they just remembered how they were howling, laughing because everyone was on time but me. All the other kids, and I'd be the one little duck with the feather in the back. That's what it was, you know. And I'd be the late little duck. Everybody'd be on time but me, and they'd be out there laughing, you know, and they'd come home and tell everyone.
You were given straight comedies from the get-go then. You just liked the timing was on your side.
Yeah. And so that's, when I look back on it, those are the things we used to play talent show on the stoops of the apartment I lived in when we were kids. So it was always some form of entertainment. But when it really just hit me in the heart, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I saw the Negro Ensemble Company when I was in high school. And I saw these beautiful African-American people on stage. And I'd seen not a lot of theater, but like I said, we'd gone to the Muni and we'd seen a lot of things, but I was just so blown away. And that's when I decided that is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Then where did you go next? Because it seems like the beginning of your career is so much stage. So yeah. I couldn't figure out where you went to school. Did you go to school for?
No, because in St. Louis, where I grew up in the Ville area, Sumner High School, those areas. Sumner had a great theater department and a great music department, but I went to Northwest High School, and they had a theater department and a pretty good music department. But I was too chicken shit to be.
Were you?
Yeah, especially to be an actor. If I told my buddies I wanted to be an actor, they'd be like, you better act your ass on out of there, you know. Yeah, I was just kind of like, and everyone was very good. Everyone was they were amazing. And so I was just kind of intimidated. And what ended up happening then, I joined a band. I put a band, or helped put a band together. I shouldn't say I put it together. And I was a front man for this band, and we became very popular. We started touring. We started working at different colleges around the state of Missouri. We'd go to some colleges, and I think we went as far as Kansas and maybe down to Tennessee. We'd do some gigs. And that just became kind of the love of my life next, but it was on stage doing something. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to college, they had a great theater program. And once again, I was too chicken shit because they were all so amazing.
I'm so surprised by that because in the research that I did, it said dancer from age 3, like performing on stage. I was like, oh, he was the triple threat. That's why I was so curious. I'm like, where did this triple threat emerge from in St. Louis? Yeah. So you start playing music. So when do you, because I know you start around 97, 98 is when you start working in television and film, but were you already starting on stage and different places like that? Because just to catch the audience up, that Ovation Award comes in 2002, 2006.
2006. No, I came to Los Angeles in 1984, and I came here specifically to be an actor. I wanted to do stand-up comedy. I was bitten by that bug by watching Richard Pryor, and I was telling a friend, man, I'd been just injected with the comedy bug since my grandparents used to, I know I'm all over the place. My grandparents kept the TV on one channel, kept it on CBS. So we would watch CBS all during the week. So I'd see Gunsmoke and Paladin shows you probably have never heard of, and Half Gun Will Travel as Paladin. But the thing we got together and watched was Ed Sullivan on Sundays. And Ed Sullivan had everybody on, the Beatles, of course. He had the Temptations on there, and he had all these comics on there, and all these Borscht Belt comics and everyone. And they made my folks laugh, and they made me laugh. I understood the premise. I understood what they were saying, and I understood the punchline. And that kind of got in my heart too. Those guys, they're making my folks laugh. That kind of was in the mix too. And so by the time I came to Los Angeles, I won't tell you what age I was, but I got here a little later than most people. Those were all the things I wanted to pursue. I wanted to do stand-up, and I wanted to be an actor. I'd already worked in radio and done all these things with music that I felt like, okay, it's time to put that on the back burner. This is what you really, really want to do. And that's where I started really seriously pursuing it.
Did you start going to the Comedy Store? Were you going up nightly? And then also, were you going to acting class at the same time? Like, how does one infiltrate and start getting,
Once again, I came out here kind of blind. I didn't know that you could go to a class and learn how to tell jokes. So I went to this class, Judy Carter. She had a workshop. And I went there for a few sessions, 2 different sessions. The first session, we had a showcase at the Comedy Store up in the Belly Room. And I went up there and I killed. I had a ball. I had a great set. The room was packed. And I'm like, okay, this is it. And so I started working. There was a place, not just the Laugh Factory, out in Encino.
The Ha Ha Club?
Yeah, that's it. And so the next gig, it was like 2 people in the audience, and I sucked.
I was going to ask, it's always the second time. If you hit guns a-blazing to start, you get the itch.
So it's called the LA Cabaret. The LA Cabaret.
The LA Cabaret, okay.
And I sucked. But that was a part of it too, and I just kept doing it. In fact, I was on the phone with a friend this morning who was from that same time period, who's a comic who's still doing comedy. And we talked about those days, where we get up and it'd be one person in the room. You get up and everybody's like, get off the stage, that type of thing. So that was a part of the journey also. And so, but I still wasn't clear about acting. In terms of when I said wasn't clear, how do I get into this? Where do I get an agent? How do I, step 1, step 2, step 3? Because step 1, you got to get an agent. Step 2, you got to get a SAG card. You can't do either of those if you don't book something. So you can't book anything if you don't have an agent or a SAG. So it's
catch-22.
Catch-22 situation.
So Stan, what was your journey in? How did you get the agent, or what came first? Did somebody come and see your stand-up and say, you?
What came first was this young lady that I met that I was dating at the time. She was in a soap. I think she had a recur in a soap. And she said, I want to introduce you to my agent. Agent didn't like me at the point. I shouldn't say didn't like. He said he had someone similar to me. And he told me to go see this casting director. And it's been so long ago, I forget the casting director's name. Please forgive me. The casting director sent me to this other agent and said he would like to take me on. And that's how it got started. First job I booked was an AT&T commercial. And if you blinked, you would miss me. But my aunt, who I talked about, is one of my teachers back in St. Louis. She called, baby, I saw you. I saw you. And so I said, how did you see me? Because I didn't see me. She said, I know that walk. I know your big old head anywhere.
Yep.
And she's the only person that ever told me that they saw it. And then that's how it got started, about getting an agent. And I tell young actors now, you got to get an agent no matter what. Someone that just will send you a picture out. Well, now send it out on one of these things, of course. But someone that will get, just send your picture out, and it will get you in the habit of going in the room, giving them your picture, saying your name, getting in front of them, and either bombing or whatever. But you got to that's part of the process, going in the room, and doing it. And that's how it kind of got started. The next gig I booked was The Bold and the Beautiful, where I played the janitor. And that's how it really kind of got started. It's like, okay, this is good,
Starting to make some traction.
And I got it with this agent. And that just started things. they brought me back as another janitor for another company in the show. And that's how it kind of really got started. I probably didn't book my next gig for another year or two, maybe even longer than that. And that was for America's Most Wanted. And,
I saw that.
And
I saw that on IMDb. Yes. I love that you were dabbling in all different genres, different lanes, just whatever is going to get you in front of camera. And as I was looking through your IMDb, like you've been working for so long and in so many different genres, this might be a hard question to answer, but what is that one audition for you? If you were to rack your brain, and it doesn't matter which one it is that comes, I have specific ones I want to ask about, but I always love hearing from the person sitting in the hot seat. What's the one that comes to mind? Because at the beginning, like you said, okay, you're going in the room, you're getting this, or you're not getting this. When does it start to kind of be like, okay, I'm doing it, and people kind of know what I can do now?
That part, people know that what I can do came a long time after those early auditions. But I think about this audition all the time as an audition for Grey's Anatomy. And I was already working on Ray Donovan at the time. And I go in the room, and being a member of the actor studio is about sensory work, of course. Everybody talks about the sensory work from the actor studio, but they teach you about human behavior, about behaving in the scene instead of acting in the scene. And in this audition, this guy, he's an old guy like me. And this was years ago, and he was still an old guy like me. But he had to do a treadmill. He's on the treadmill. And I started jogging on the treadmill, getting ready to say my lines. I got my paper in my hand that I could glance down, even though I'm pretty much off book. And the casting director, she screamed, she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, the guy's on the treadmill." She said, "Don't do that." And so I was in such a state when she said that I got lost on the page. I got lost on the page, and now I'm trying to gather myself, and she's telling me where to start. And because she wants me to start someplace different from where, you know how we do. We got the audition, we got scene 1 down, we got scene 2 down, whatever we're going to do. And I was completely lost. And I started just flop sweating. And I finally caught up. But by that time, I'm, like I said, full of flop sweat. And she said, "Thank you." And I walked out. And her assistant said, "We love you on Ray Donovan." I just walked out of the room, and I can't tell you how many F-bombs I dropped when I went out the door, and just beat myself up as actors do. "You're so stupid," and we've all done that, And at that time, I hate to call it teaching, but I had a class that I was sharing I always call it sharing what was being shared with me. And I told them the story, and I told them about it. And we've all had everybody's had those type of auditions where it just all went wrong. And that's the one that really made me dig deeper into being more and more specific about everything on the page and everything that I was going to do as an actor. And understanding also that if there's a physicality in it, when you go in the room, and I'll talk about that later if you want me to, that, you got to have better judgment and use common sense.
Yeah, okay. I'm curious, though, what the next audition was thereafter, because like you said, you're on Ray Donovan, a huge show at the time, Mr. Potato Pie. I mean, I was sad to see him I was going to ask, where did he go for season 4? Because then we come back. I didn't know if you were working on something else.
I think I did 5 seasons, 4.5 seasons, and then they made the decision to take it to New York, and Pie wasn't going to New York.
Pie wasn't going to New York.
And because there's a family story, I always called it an LA story. I thought it was a love letter kind of to Los Angeles and Hollywood to me because of the way it all opened and the way it started. But the Donovans had other plans. They had to go to New York.
Yeah. They didn't want to take Potato Pie with them. Come on. Okay, well, here's my question. So as an actor, you even said what was on the page, he's running on the treadmill. I think that's a beautiful choice to put movement in. Casting directors are gatekeepers, but they're not ultimate visionaries. They're not ultimate decision makers at the end of the day. They are gatekeepers to what's going on. And sometimes they gatekeep great talent because of whatever opinion that they may have about the material.
Right.
I love that you shared that with your class, but what was the next audition thereafter? If you were, like you're saying, you're going into a place and not, but how did you implement that into your audition process next? If you're doing incredible script analysis, if I read, you're out for a walk, how do you create that, creating the world, right?
Well, I told the class also, don't be afraid to ask questions. They'll, what do they say in the audition? You have any questions? One thing I'll say, is there anything that you think that I should know that's not on the page, that wasn't in the breakdown? And then, just show me what you got. Let's see what you're doing. That's a shortcut I'm using to say, okay,
yep.
Audition. And then I would ask a question. I would start asking questions about the character because I want to be sure, because if it's taking place at a cold bus stop in Chicago, I want to have that energy. I just don't want to just say the lines. I want to be in the reality of the situation. And so I started asking questions and asking, especially if there was something physical, like running on a treadmill, do you want to see that? Or should I try it this way? Or can I show you the way that I'm doing it? And if you have any adjustments you want me to make. And so I started becoming not more inquisitive, but I call it protecting myself when I go in the room too, to try to be as armed as I possibly can with as much information as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think and it helps you take control over the room, helps settle those nerves. Okay, well then I want to jump to an audition that I'm assuming wasn't in the room. We got to talk about Abbott. Was Abbott a self-tape? So you've lived through so many iterations of the industry, right? From the early days that we're on prime time. Okay, now we've got cable. Okay, now we got this web series iteration. Yeah. Now you don't have to worry about the gatekeepers. You can make up your own shit because you're at home. Also, was it on tape?
It was on tape. Abbott was right in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm. And
my manager, who happens to be my wife, who's an excellent manager, after I did the audition, about a month later, 3 weeks to a month later, she said, you booked that job. I'm like, what job is that? She said, the job about the school. I'm like, what school? And I'm saying that to say that it took a long time to get to the place of where you just leave it there and go on to the next one. You know what I mean? In terms of still waiting for the phone and calling your agent every day. Did I get it? And all those things, which we all go through a lot too, and we learn to not do that after a while. But the thing I also tell them in class was you got to get to the place where you leave it there and you forget about it and you move on. Mm-hmm. And there was so much time in between doing the audition and getting the word that I booked it that I thought it was going to be just a guest star, maybe a couple of days of work or whatever. And we shot the pilot and it was very special. You could tell it was very special, but a lot of special things never see the light of day. Yeah. But this was during COVID. We taped it. And next thing you know, I'm on set. Well, not even on set. I'm at wardrobe. And the lady from wardrobe said, the director's on the phone and he wants to see you dance. I'm like, wait a minute, the director's on the phone, I'm at wardrobe and he wants to see me dance. He says, yeah, he wants to see you dance and he wants to see you dance with a broom or a mop. No, it was a mop. So they went and got a mop and I started dancing with the mop and they said, see you on the set. I already booked the job, but that was kind of strange that I thought that he wanted to see me dance. And once I got on set, of course, I understood what that was all about. But that's how it kind of went down. I'd forgotten about it. And that's a muscle you have to build. Mm-hmm. That's a muscle you have to build as an actor to leave it there and move on. And not spend your time.
Yes. Well, and also I want to get even a little bit more acute with it too, because Mr. Johnson, he is the king of one-liners. So for your audition, like you said, you thought it was a guest star.
Right.
Was it a couple of lines interjecting like Mr. Johnson does, or did they give you actual great scenes to kind of chew on to deliver?
The audition had a couple of really great scenes, but the one that I took a risk, and that's another thing I encourage actors to do, is to take a risk. There's a line that says she's got some big feet. That was just a one line, and we're all in the library. And in the audition, I gave him 2 takes. She's got some big feet. She's got some big feet. And then I told the friend who was taping me, I said, I'm going to send this in. I said, she got some big ass feet. And I don't know if they saw that or if that got it or what, but I took that risk. And I don't know if that closed the deal or not. I really don't know. I'm just glad whatever it was, the deal got sealed.
The deal got sealed. And week after week, so I have my daughter and I, this is the show we watch together. She loves it. We love it. As an actor who's been working for over 20 years myself, I also teach. People get mistaken, I think, for like, what's the tough job? And I truly believe the person that has one or two lines, the five and unders, or the great ensembles where there's the one guy that gets the zinger. Those are the harder auditions to do, just because you don't have a whole meal to chew on. And also when you're on set, you're waiting. You deliver, Stan, time after time so brilliantly. I would love to know your thought process, or how you would even teach on something like this when it's the world is built. You've got so many great improv actors around you, also what's scripted. How are you keeping yourself fresh, going take to take, and waiting for that interjection point? Because I think sometimes we can get in our heads.
Get in my head all the time.
Do you?
Yeah. It's about, once again, taking a risk, being brave enough to take a risk. Bruce Dern said one time at the Actors Studio, he said that I'll give them my take on the first take, so I'll take that risk on the first take just in case they like that and they want to keep that. They already got it. So a lot of actors don't have those kind of cojones, actors want to be liked and they want to please like me. Don't say no. That's another thing. The no is the strongest word in Hollywood, but no one likes to say it. But anyway, it's about believing in yourself, taking a risk, really taking, but back to the original question, we have some incredible writers. And so they will write something and they'll be very specific about it. No, we want it done like this. So if you want it done like this, I'm going to bring everything that I can to this line or these lines or this monologue, whatever. And I already know who this character is. He's an enigma.
He's in his own world.
His own world. You don't know what he's going to do or say. So I try to, own it in the way that Mr. Johnson would own it. And I know that's kind of simple, but that's what we have to do as actors. It's already on the page. You know who the character is. Now bring everything that you bought in the past and, give them a little surprise. They might say, oh my God, that was great. And I said, no, we don't want that. But at least be brave enough to take that risk.
And talking about brave enough to take the risk, and the writers are exceptional. On Abbott. Yeah. How often are you guys, especially as an ensemble, doing improv versus sticking straight to the lines? Because especially with breaking the fourth wall, there's so much timing. Yeah. And if everybody's improving, is going to fall. Or is that how you guys work?
No, everyone stays to the script. If you do improvise, it better be funnier than what's on the page. And they tell you that you can improvise it, but if it's not funnier than what's on the page, you got to do what's written on the page. But there's a lot of improvisation in almost every scene. There's someone, if Janelle's not doing it, Cheryl is doing it. Cheryl's not doing it, Chris is doing it. Or Tyler, and Janelle, she brings her own thing. They all bring their own thing. Lisa, everyone.
You guys all do.
Everyone, they all bring something. And I call that being generous. They're giving me something now. Okay, now I got something I can work with. They're always throwing something new. And sometimes it's so good we have to stop because everyone's got faith. And that's just part, and we trust one another. Everyone, we trust one another. So we trust each other to the point of we just, okay, what's he gonna do? What's she gonna do? And that's the making of a great ensemble, when you trust one another.
You just took the words out of my mouth. The casting of this ensemble is so incredibly rich from the moment of go. Everybody was cast off tape. Did you guys have a chemistry read all together?
No, everybody met on the set. I'd known Cheryl. I didn't know her, but we worked Ray Donovan together. We started on the first day together, and we worked. She went to New York, I believe, if I remember right. But I reminded her that we were, in fact, in that scene where I said she has some big feet, when they cut, I told her, hey, Cheryl, I was on Ray Donovan with you, remember? And she's like, oh, yeah, and that type of thing, But, we met on the set on the pilot. Everyone knew how special this was in terms of what was on the page, the writing. And the great director, Randall Einhorn, he's one of our producers, but he directed the pilot. And if I was lost somewhere, he would come in and say, okay, this is what we're doing, do this, do that, and give me some specific directions. And I'm sure he did that with everyone because, you're shooting a pilot. Even though you feel the rhythm of it, sometimes it might be a little too much, sometimes it might be not enough.
Yeah, as they're figuring out tone.
That was the chemistry for everyone, I think. If you want to call that a chemistry read, yeah.
It's exquisite. It's what we all needed as audience members, what we really needed.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
from scene study classes to audition classes,
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created The Bridge for Actors,
a collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
to a working actor.
Okay, let's talk about the art of saying no. Somebody that's been working since the 80s, what is your theory around when to say no to a project, and do you?
I have said no. I'll say no now to some things that have been offered to me that either, how do I say this? When I taught class, I would kind of interview people sometimes. And so I'll say something like, will you do nudity? Mm-hmm. They'll answer it right away, which means that they didn't think about the question. Mm-hmm. And so I'll ask them why. If they'll say yes, I'll ask them why if they say no. And I'll try to explain to them that no one likes to say no because they think if I say no to this, then I won't work again. If I say no to a situation, this casting director won't like me or something. And it's all about that. If someone likes you, it's about the work, first of all. And no is the strongest word you can say. You never hear no on the set. I've never heard no on the set. I need flying monkeys with fire coming out their ass. Flying in, sir. You never hear somebody say, hey, man, we can't do that. Yes. Never hear the word no. So I think it's the strongest word you can say. And people are afraid to say it.
Yeah. And do you have a standard of, I'm sure you're getting offered things left and right, and I'm sure they're very similar to Mr. Johnson, which is great, right? It's like the industry sees you do one thing and then they only send you that. Yeah, is it mostly that you're getting, or is there, I've talked to people before and they're like, it's either for the bank account, for creative and who I'm working with, or because I just want to work, like whatever it might be. But some people have standards, and I'm just so curious.
Sometimes it's all of the above.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's all of the above. Bank account, the money's okay, or I need the money or whatever. But I think you have to have standards too about, I think that casting and production, they respect you if you, something I don't think that I can do. This is something that might embarrass my family or embarrass my people, whatever, So you have to set some standards for yourself. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially when got a cabinet full of top ramen and you don't have your water on to even boil it because your water's been turned off because you haven't worked it and you don't have money to pay the water bill. But, you got to set especially women, especially female actors, you got to know, because there's some unscrupulous people out here too. And you got to really be able to recognize what's legit and to have the nerve enough to say, no, I don't think so. And you can do that in a polite way. People think that if I say no, that I'm never going to ever work. That I'm never going to, this word is going to go to this person. She's hard to deal with or he's hard to deal with. No, it's just, look, this is not for me. Maybe, we can do something else later.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Well, I've never interviewed somebody that has repped that has their teammate inside the house. So your wife being your manager. And I talk about this a lot on the podcast, how to utilize your team, how to work. Even I think a lot of actors are like, I need an agent or manager, or I won't be able to do anything. And it creates a hierarchy. It creates an imbalance in the conversations around work.
Mhm.
Love to know if you're willing to share. How do you guys work, especially if it's under one roof? Did you guys start working together before you were together, or you got together and then she became your manager?
Combination. We met in an acting class. She was in a big film. She was in Evita with Madonna. She played one of the Audition sisters. And one of the one of the producers brought her to America. She's from London. And we met in acting class. We had to do an improv together in this acting class. And that's how we kind of met. And she didn't realize that it was going to be as tough as it is here. She was a big fish in London, and because she was a singer and she ran clubs and things like that. She's very popular and she's very talented. But she decided that this is not for me. I don't really think I'm cut out for this, even though she worked on stage her whole life. And she worked with another manager. She did professional organizing. And she watched how this lady worked. And she came home one day, she said, I can be a manager and I'm going to be your manager, because she was tired of the way the agent that I had at that time was sending me out. She'd hear me moan about it. Can I say bitch about it?
Absolutely.
Hear me bitch about it. And so one day she said, I'm going to be a manager and you're going to be my first client. I was like, yeah, okay, right. Okay, yeah. And next thing I know, she was doing it at a pace that I couldn't believe for someone who was just starting. And she started getting other clients. And I make the joke, but it's not a joke, it's the truth. She was the manager and I was the courier. So back then you drop breakdowns off at different offices. And so I had this old raggedy Mustang and I would drop all the breakdowns off. I'd go through and make sure I'm in there.
But you were dropping them off to the casting offices?
Dropping them off to the casting office, yeah. And that's how we kind of got started as a team. A lot of our clients were working way before I was. And then one day, a call came in that people at the practice wanted to see me. And I went in for the audition and they really liked me. And she said, they want to see you again. I'm like, okay, they want to see me again. I went out to Manhattan Beach where they were shooting it, came back home. She said, how'd it go? I said, it felt okay. And I said, they want to see you again. I'm like, they want to see me again, yeah. And so, yeah, I went the third time and they gave me a couple of adjustments. And before I got home, she said, you booked it, they love you. And that was like, okay, that felt pretty good. But she's grown, her company has grown, and she's really good at what she does.
It's incredible to have somebody in-house.
Stay out of the way.
Well, I think it's really good to hear that, because some people just don't know how to communicate with their team. And now you have a teammate who's a partner. But what I'm hearing too is it doesn't sound like work is really much of the conversation.
It's every day. It's part of our conversation every day.
Yes.
We have a dozen. She uses the phone and the computer, but she'll have a dozen pieces of paper with stuff that I have to do. Like before I can open my eyes, she's on it, but she's really good at what she does. We have a team, a PR team and a social media team, and they all work together, but she kind of runs point on all of that for me.
That's incredible. It's nice. It's really amazing. Okay. So people that are watching versus listening, people that are listening, we can see all of these gorgeous, amazing statues behind you, awarding you for the brilliance, being part of an ensemble, working at a high level for a while. Other than reading the script, when you get an audition or when you're getting Abbott's sides or Abbott's scripts, how do you approach character or script analysis other than reading the script? Anything that any character, anywhere you want to go with that, Stan? We always like putting people in the hot seat of how they kind of break down character.
I've been fortunate that one of my mentors was Martin Landau. Like I said, I'm a member of the Actors Studio.
Yes.
And Marty would share things where he shared with everyone, but he would sometimes pull me to the side, Stan, just want to share something with you. And he said something that just really changed everything for me. He said, everything we experience in life is filtered through our five senses. And the first I had to think about it, he said, every experience we have in life is filtered through our five senses. You're nodding your head right now, you're reacting to something that I'm saying. And that, oh my God, it didn't seem like a lot, but that one little thing changed everything that I was doing, because I was going in acting instead of going in with real human behavior. Because that's what we do as human beings, is behave. We just react to whatever's going on. It's a fly or whatever. And it made everything become very specific. Even if it was the smallest little line, if you go in and say, hello, and that's the line, that's the only line, you got to find the specificity in that. And why am I doing this? And really staying in the truth of it. And that kind of helped me. And I hope I'm answering your question.
You are. Absolutely. I love sense memory, and I feel like a lot of people can do the analytical work, and you can watch an actor give a perfect cerebral audition.
Right.
And then you watch another actor inhabit something in their body. Like, I always reference Robin Wright Penn. Even if her back is turned to you, her back is in it. Like, you're just so in it. So I just really, there's so many different ways that people start their script analysis, where some people start with the body, some people start with the voice. And I just find it really enlightening how we kind of uncover what's given to us on the page.
And I love what you just said, because the other thing is that a lot of actors don't understand that everything between your head and the bottom of the floor is your instrument. I mean, the bottom of your feet is your instrument.
Yeah.
And if any part of that is not in sync, you become very self-conscious in the audition. Just thinking about, oh, can I move this way? Or you'll get ahead of yourself. You know what, the monologue is coming now, instead of staying in the moment and risking, once again, that word risk, making a mistake. A lot of auditions, I've never been word perfect. In fact, 99% of them, I've never been word perfect. I would apologize at the end, especially if the writer was in the room, for messing up the line. Sometimes they say, oh no, that was better. I'm writing that down. That was better. But
because you were in the moment, so you got hired for the essence, not for the words.
About the getting it right. There's no such thing as getting it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, then I want to ask about one of your auditions, or even just one of your working experiences on Studio City on the Sunset Strip, because that was Sorkin.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That was really nice. And
so how did you, as somebody who isn't word perfect, here's somebody who is known for perfection of words and grammatically and spaces and is on, how was that working experience, and what did you witness? What did you pick up from other people?
That was a great, just not working, but learning experience, and learning the rhythm and challenging myself to be word perfect and be off book and to be prepared when I go in the next day. And that's one of those jobs similar to Abbott, where I thought I was just going to work a day or two. And it turned out that I think they did 12 episodes, and I think I worked 9 or 10 of those episodes.
Yeah, you did 8 or 9 of those. Yeah.
And I learned from everyone on the set. And Judd Hirsch was in an episode, and he had this monologue that was so incredible that even every time they did the rehearsal takes or whatever, people gave him a standing ovation. And I said, I want to do that. Every time I learn something, I want to be able to do that. I want to have that kind of commitment to learning this. It seemed like 2 pages of just him. And I said, that is what. And every time I would see something, I would say, that is what I want to bring to myself. How do I do that? And it would challenge me. And this monologue, it's been so long ago, it was just so incredible. And like every set that I'm on, Ray Donovan, I learned so much from Eddie Martin, who I did most of my scenes with. I learned, and he was constantly doing the work.
What did you learn tangibly, or specifically, what did you learn that you were like, oh, I want to start doing that?
His character had Parkinson's, the beginning stages of Parkinson's. And we'd be at lunch, or we'd be in a van going to a location or something, and his hand would be shaking. And I was like, hey man, is he really sick? I wanted to ask him, or, and somebody did ask him that. And he said, no, I'm just working. And that hit me in the chest, like, man, You have to work all the time. Stay, find something in the character, find something new that you can bring to it, but don't stop developing this character. It got to a point, and he was so good that I never asked him, but I was like, man, the work you're doing is incredible. And, and it just, and that, I learned something from every show, every theater piece. I did Fences with the late, great Charlie Robinson. Charlie and I became great friends. He was the bailiff in Night Court, if you remember the original.
Yes.
Yeah. And I played his best friend in Fences, and I learned so much work. And he had 3, 4, August Wilson would write 3 and 4 page monologues. And Charlie would be almost word perfect every night. And he would walk around the theater. He would walk around the block. He would get there 2 hours before we had call, and he would walk around the block just reciting those lines. And one day I said, hey, man, I'm gonna walk with you. And he said, don't walk with me. He said, I'm working. And I'm, okay, brother, okay. But he meant that, man, I just need to focus. I don't need any conversation. Yeah. And that taught me a lot too. And so, like I said,
did you have an Ovation nom for that too, or an Emmy?
Yeah, an Ovation nomination
for that. I love that him walking, doing it. It just, whoever you work with, like you said, it raises your level. You could do a whole master class just going credit by credit stand of like what you learned, how you pivoted. I have a few rapid fire questions that I love asking people at the end. You've kind of already answered some of them, but what's the one thing that you've done that you wish more people would have seen? Any project? Because I love shedding light on damn good work.
That's a great question. I wish, theater-wise, I wish Fences as an actor. Theater-wise, as a director, I wish more people had seen The Old Settler.
The Old Settler. The one because you directed for a lot. We didn't get to touch on that, your directing streak.
Yeah. The Old Settler, I wish more people had seen it. We'd have packed houses every night, but it was really worthy for more people to see it, for the actors. Even though we had packed houses, we got great reviews in Time and the LA Times and great write-ups, but I wish more people had seen it because these actors were so incredible. In terms of my work, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that people have seen things that I've done. And even before Abbott, I'd be somewhere and someone would say, I loved you in this. I loved you in Ray Donovan. Or I loved you in Lincoln Heights.
Yes.
And those things I'm really grateful and thankful for, because those things paved the way.
Absolutely. I mean, Potato Pie, you really have some incredible characters in your arsenal that have come through and that we get to be entertained week after week after week. What's the funniest way that you've gotten a job?
Oh, wow. The funniest way I've gotten a job. Oh, wow. One class I was in on Thursday night, she would have a showcase, and a lot of directors and producers would come in. And because I did stand-up for quite a while, that particular night, I didn't have a scene. To put up. And without even telling me she was going to do it, the teacher said, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage is Mr. Stan Davis. And I was like, my eyes like, what are you talking about? And she said, some stand-up. And I did a little stand-up. And about 2 weeks later, this guy called me about a job that he had. It was just a little, couple of lines on something. But, he said, I saw you do your stand-up at Bobby's class, and I just love what you did. And I'm sorry it's no more than this, but that's the truth, because at that time I still needed to put tape together. We don't have it now. And I needed and like you said earlier, any opportunity to get in front of the camera. I did UCLA and USC student films. I did everything. If someone needed someone for something with no pay, just to build up not just my resume, but to build up my tape. So any opportunity I got to work, I took it.
I love that the stand-up came full circle, that you came to do comedy. You came to get, in front of television or in film and do stand-up, and look how it comes full circle at like the most random of times. You've been a guest on over 60 plus television shows. And like what you just said, just saying yes, like doing this student film or doing that. Are you the actor that at lunch goes to your trailer? Or what do you do when you're getting to be a guest in somebody's house? How have you as Stan approached this?
It depends on the show. And it depends on, you get a vibe from actors if they don't want to be bothered. And you gotta have that antenna, to recognize and see, okay, this guy does. But I'll read the room. And sometimes I will go, even now on Abbott, we all kind of, as much as we enjoy being around each other on set and when we go to events, I think lunch is kind of that place where you kind of just chill out and kind of let your body and your mind reset. It depends on the situation, but and a lot of us go out together and we dine together and we tell crazy stories, laughs and that type of thing. But I think once again you have to read the room.
Well, also Abbott's your house now. Yeah. That's your guys' house. So like any of us coming in to guest, there's a different way to approach. And I just think it's a beautiful way to stay connected with people. Like I always say, like, go sit behind Video Village, have lunch with people, be in communication with everybody that's there working, because we just don't know who's going to go where next, what you're going to learn, what you're going to observe, how you're going to start to connect with other people in the industry.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I had a problem with is someone would come up and say, "Hi, Stan," and I would know their name. So I'd because I want to be respectful of them. If you know my name, I want them to know your name. So I've tried to get to know everyone on the set. Gaffers, rips, everybody, I tried to learn everyone, everyone in wardrobe, everyone in props, because they know who I am, and I want, and get to have a relationship with them, and we talk, and it just makes the whole environment. And I'm respectful of what they do. This is a team. This is a team. And
your team is really knocking it out of the park.
They are really great at what they do.
They really are. Okay, last question. If you would
answer the questions correctly.
No, you would. I love doing the rapid fire at the end because it's so interesting what comes forth or what it evokes from people, especially when you've been working for so long. Like, we could do an interview for 5 hours. We didn't even get to touch on your directing side. Like, there's so much wealth of information, and you've been so embedded in telling so many different stories. Yeah. What's the one role you would love to steal right now or wish you would have gotten?
There's so many. Oh my God.
You've played so many of them too. I was like, this is going to be hard, but I always love hearing, sometimes you hear from somebody that you're like, oh my God, you almost got that part. Can you imagine?
Once again, there's a theater piece. August Wilson is one of my favorite playwrights. He did a play called Jitney that I think they went to Broadway a couple of years ago as a revival. I guess that's what you call it. And I want to play the role of Jim Becker. And that's a role that I've always wanted to do.
Ooh.
And I've worked on it at the Actor Studio. And I love the whole play. The play is really a great play. And it's part of his 10 plays for the 20th century. And that's a role that I really would love to do. I put it out there. I'd love to do it on Broadway.
Let's just put it out there. And so it is.
And that I'm going to do it on Broadway.
There we go. And so it is. People have come and sat in this hot seat and talked about selling movies, writing books. And I have to say, in the last 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. Or it's different parts that they want. It's really incredible when a community holds space or when you speak it into existence. Because look how many wonderful pieces that you've spoken into existence, that you've shared on stage, on our television sets. I'm so grateful that I got to dig in. Thanks for letting me ask some of these questions that I know you don't normally get asked in press time, but it's really nice for us, all of us actors, to hear your process. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Wait, are you on Instagram? Does your wife's social media team do this for you? Please tell us what it is.
The William Stanford Davis. The social team is on there all the time. I'm with Persona PR and with Walt Good. Walt Good is my social media team, and they're really great. They laugh at me because I'm an old man in a young man's game with these computers. They know everything they can do they can do magic with things. I'm like, how'd you do that?
I know. I'm still learning.
Really great. They're really great. And
Stan, wait, are you still doing stand-up?
I did a bit with Lisa last year for Netflix as a joke. I opened for her. I did about 10 minutes. I hadn't done it in almost 30 years. And
I'm going to go dig that up.
I stopped me. We were at a wedding 2 weeks ago, and this guy came up to me, and I was like, okay, this guy did me. He said, I just wanted to tell you how funny you were. I said, what do you mean? He said, I saw you at Netflix as a joke, and man, you really had me laugh. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you very much. So
I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to
Maybe a little Netflix special, like a whole hour, Stan, just like.
I'm a lazy writer. I'd have, yeah. Let's put that out there into existence too, though.
I'm just saying, it would be great. It would be great. Thank you so much for doing this.